What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Chat and Draw. You're probably wondering, who is this guy talking to you right now? Well, I'm Mike Watson. I'm the publisher of Short Fuse Media Group, founder of Freestyle Comics, one half of the bad, the good, the bad, the nerdy, the most enthusiastic person in comics, aka the Super Mad Brother, and your host for today and every day on Chat and Draw. Your next question: what is Chat and Draw? That's great. That's a really good question. Chat and Draw is a show where I sit across the internet table, the interweb table, from another creative, and we talk and chat and ask each other questions. And while we're talking and discussion, I draw their character for them live on the show, and we get to find out about this awesome character that we're going to be drawing today. Let me get them on here with our traditional fashion.
Here comes a new challenger!
Ramel, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing excellent. Doing excellent. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I've been checking out a few of them. I'm watching as you actually get better with your art while doing these shows, man. You've leveled up a few times. I mentioned that to you before.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. I'm hoping that will spring over into the Hotshot comic book, as I'm fully invested on those pages right now as well. So today, there we go, getting my little system set up. Today, who are we drawing today, sir?
We got one half of my dynamic all ages duo. We have Pinkwing that you're going to be hooking up today.
Awesome. Can you give us a little elevator pitch? Tell us about the character.
Pinkwing and the Prime Controller. It's a brother and sister duo. They are pretty much straight from my childhood, honestly. I was a big fan of Saturday morning cartoons, just the adventure of all that, of what could happen. And for my first foray into comics, I wanted to do something definitely fun. And I based the two kids off my oldest kids. My two oldest, I have a son and daughter, and they were kind of the inspiration for these two characters. Pinkwing is the more action-oriented of the duo. She kind of jumps in head first, and her older brother, Duncan, aka Prime Controller, he's more calculated. He's the one that's kind of bailing her out a little bit. But they make a good duo.
All right. Okay. So what brought you to say that you wanted to use your kids as the base for these characters?
Honestly, I was driving them to school, and we were having these conversations, just talking about comics, talking about whatnot. What would you look like, or what would you be? What kind of powers would you want to have? And then based on these conversations, we just kept the drive going. And we actually met. I gave them all journals and we wrote down what kind of villains they would face. And I showed them how the characters would look. And we kind of kept it going from there. And I did a Kickstarter for it. And, it took off from there. I've been doing conventions for over 2 years, selling the books. Picked up a lot of fans, and it's growing. It's actually it's bigger than I thought it would be based on what's released so far.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that? What were your expectations?
Just to really, honestly, I wanted it to be a learning tool for me and how to, because I've always wanted to get into comics, and I thought it was going to be more of a little mini series where I just drop it, learn from it, and move on to something else. But it's actually grown into its own universe that I have to move from headcanon and put it on paper, where it's a lot of characters involved now. It's not just about Pinkwing and the Prime Controller. There's a lot of moving parts in this. And it's some big plans I have planned for 2021 once the world gets semi back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, big plans, big plans. Anything you can share with us?
Yeah, this is something I talked about last year. Honestly, it's going to be a graphic novel.
Hmm.
It's called Collapsed Worlds. It's going to be a kind of a mini indie crossover event. It's got over 10 different other indie creators and their characters are involved in this. Um,
Okay.
we have Is Nana the Were Spider, Clarity Girl, Swag Patrol, David Jackson's Utter. We have Shane Morrison's Beast King, Spirit Destiny, Nia Carter, George Gant. He's got his reset button character in there. Bass Force is going to be in there, and a few others. It's going to be pretty big. Um, it's it's going to be a good challenge to throw in so many different characters and to make it a story that makes sense.
Okay. So is this a story that's going to affect all of your worlds, or is this going to be a singular
This is
event?
a singular event. This is a graphic novel that's just kind of separate. Fun. It'll be reference to it, but it's not part of the main storyline.
Okay. All right. So, what really got you even into writing comics, man? How did this process of this world of creation even start for you?
Uh, I've been a story writer forever, honestly. Just like all you guys out there, probably, I've been making comics since middle school, grade school. We've all, you take your paper, make your stories, and in my head, they were way more epic than what I was able to actually produce back then. But the story part was always there. Even creative writing in school was important to me. Um, to me, always a good story is is worth more than a good picture because the story has substance, the story is valuable, and even when I get into comics and reading comics, me and you've had conversations about your own series. Um, I kind of get dug in and read everything. So
Hmm.
if I'm reading a series, I usually reread the issues leading up to that if a new issue comes out, just so I can have that full experience.
All right. All right. So, what kind of influences do you have on your writing, if any? Like, what writers are you looking at? Like, dang, I need to get to this level, or I'm really digging how they did that. Let me take my own crack at it.
Um, it used to be a lot of the mainstream Marvel, DC, um, Grant Morrison, um, the big names, but I honestly have been reading exclusively indie since 2014. Um, I bought a few other Marvel books, but it's really since 2015, 16. It's been strictly indie, and indie does not mean less. Indie is just you're not part of that big mainstream. Even Image Comics, some of those Image Comics are to me I consider indie. 'Cause it's non-traditional. It's not the
Hmm.
non-traditional route of storytelling. Um, I do like a non-straightforward storyteller. As far as a writer, I like a writer that's not gonna just um, give me everything. I'm gonna be able to piece something together myself. Just like if I'm reading, I'm watching a movie or something. I don't want everything spelled out for me.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out this arm right now.
No, it's
I
looking
don't
pretty
know.
good.
Thanks. To figure out what I wanted to do with this arm. All right. So, who are some writers that you think execute what you're talking about? That give you the
Um,
right amount of evidence and teasers and stuff like that.
so some of the people I'm actually working with on this collapsed world, I really dig what Greg is doing with his Nana. I'm really inspired by the way he approaches his books. Um, the funness to it. He doesn't um, stick to this is what my character is. This is what they can do. We actually get to see it in action. So we're learning more about his character the more we see him in stories. Um, with EXO, that is just a plethora of reading material. What he is doing with this series, he's got a Kickstarter going right now. He is really inspiring as well. A big fan of Bob Sally stuff too. Um, he's jumping in not just with his normal space series, but I do like Shelter Division as well too.
Okay.
Scott too. Scott Eldon with um, his story is like you really gotta pay attention to it. With Weldon Studios, if you haven't read his books yet, you definitely gotta check it out. He's got some really good work too.
Awesome, 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 awesome. All right, so one of the questions that I ask all the time. Well, there's two of them, two that we ask every single time when we're going through this. What comic? What comic made you fall in love with comics?
It would have to be the Death of Superman. That trade. I got it as a trade, as a gift, and I really jumped into comics during that period.
Okay. What about the Death of Superman that did it for you?
We had that unstoppable force of Doomsday. He wasn't. With Superman, I before it was kind of a boring comic to me because he was so strong. There was no threat, and with Doomsday, it was definitely a clear and present danger, a clear and present threat, not just to him, but he fought a team of superheroes. Just the fact that how he came out and introduced himself to the world. And I did like how, even though it was one singular story, it was spread across all the Superman titles. It had a clear ending, even though the story kept going, but it had a clear resolution to the end, where how they took each other out, but it then spawned into something else where it kept me interested. It had four different Superman. It wasn't just all right, it's done and over with. Superman's back to normal. Eventually, it would get there, but it took us on a whole different adventure where Superboy, Steel, the Eradicator, Cyborg Superman. When you got each of those books that month, it was a whole different storytelling element in those books. Even though it was all Superman, it was really like reading four different titles under the Superman line. And then, like a lot of other people, when Image Comics dropped, that changed a lot for me as well too, because now you're talking about Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, these guys who were pillars in Marvel. They're saying, no, read our stories. This is what we want to write. And the artwork was hot, the pages were hot, the color was hot, just how it was printed, the paper was printed on. They kind of made comic books into like being cool. It wasn't just like reading comic books, but it was actually it's cool to make comic books. And just like a lot of people in middle school, high school, I was drawing Youngblood, I was drawing Spawn left and right. Also a big fan of Top Cow comics when they first came out too. Michael Turner, rest in peace. That guy was amazing. His storytelling with his pictures was great.
Yeah, Michael Turner was dope, man. I got a piece signed by Michael Turner that my buddy Trevor got for me, and Trevor is a practical joker, and he got this image that Michael Turner drew, and the signature said from Michael Turner, "Hey Mike, give up." And that was Trevor's way of telling me I need to keep making my comics and not quit.
And also Cliffhanger. Battle
Oh yeah.
Chasers, Danger Girl, and Crimson. Those three, when those first three dropped, I remember that Wizard issue that had the preview in there for those three
Mhm.
books. That was like a renaissance for Image, because now you got within the confines of this independent company. Here's another imprint that's actually independent on itself too, like another independent brand.
Right, yeah. Cliffhanger was the joint, man. I love Cliffhanger. I wish they were still making their books,
Yeah,
especially Battle Chasers.
Battle Chasers was good. I like Danger Girl too, and Crimson. I give a lot of respect to Umberto Ramos, because a lot of people, always looked at him as the third wheel of the group, as far as popularity wise. But this man like doubled everybody else's issue count as far as numbers of issues out. He actually started and finished his story. For the most part, it was monthly, or if not, it was close to monthly. That consistency was crazy.
Yeah, you got to give it up for him because he actually stuck it out, was able to get it finished. Of course, I don't know everybody's circumstance, but him finishing that book, that was great.
Yeah,
And Crimson doesn't get a whole lot of love, and it should.
it doesn't. It doesn't. I like Crimson a lot, man.
I'm trying to check out this costume we got here.
Danny J. Quick, no, issue 3 is not out yet. Colors are actually done. I got about 7 pages to finish up. But I don't want to release it. Even when it is done, I'll maybe send out the digital copies to backers, but I want to wait until everything is complete for that campaign, so everybody gets the whole shebang in one shot.
Alrighty. So, what would be my secondary regular processing questions? What would be her favorite meal and her favorite movie?
You talking about Pink Wing?
Yep.
her favorite meal definitely would be either stuffed crust pizza or
Mhm.
or buttermilk pancakes drizzled with syrup.
Drizzled with syrup.
Yeah. Her favorite movie. Um, Anything martial arts. She's a martial arts fanatic. She thinks anything with ninjas is cool. Anything with people fighting is interesting. Her favorite video
Mm,
game would probably be Mortal Kombat.
yeah, that Mortal Kombat. Yeah, that's a good one. It's been killing them this year.
Yeah, and as far as storytelling, video games has been there as well too, as far as inspiration. Comics and video games for me have always been the one-two punch with entertainment as a kid growing up.
Hmm.
And then as we get older, we get into movies too, because now we got more money, we can go out and do stuff. But besides the cartoons, the comic books, video games have been, for me, huge. I'm a big fan of Chrono Trigger, that storytelling in there, the original Final Fantasy VII, any Flashback on Sega Genesis, those epic storytelling moments in video games have been huge.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, Probably Drake's Uncharted is some of my favorite stuff.
Oh
God of War
yeah,
3, God of War series, even the spinoff for Drake Uncharted. I love it very much. So, looking forward to the Last of Us. Very big story driven narratives.
well, another thing that drew me to comics really was the indie community.
Hmm.
Um, I do believe the indie community is so big and so supporting. You got so many different facets of it too. It's just huge. I remember when I met Denny Quick first, before I even knew anything about his comic books, he had a Kickstarter out. This is, I want to say 2013, 2014. And I'm just watching the campaign go, and how he hooked me. I think it was a King Supreme Kickstarter he did. He hooked me when he rapped. He actually went all out and did a rap for his Kickstarter.
Uh-huh.
And I said, that hooked me more so than any art, any pinup he could have posted, because he revealed kind of more who he was, as a creator. This is more what he's about. And a lot of people, they try to realize, we all want the same idea. We all have the same goals. We want to get more exposure, more fan base. We want people to care about our books. And we fail to realize sometimes we have to get people to care about us as well as a creator. And I like how you're doing these chat and draws. You're getting people more insight to who the creators are behind these projects.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the King Supreme song, Daddy. And that's huge. All that is huge. I remember another Kickstarter. I think the name of it was Square Warrior by Ashley. And I saw it come up a few times, and then she had a video, and she just started drawing on her Kickstarter. She just started drawing a character out, and she's talking, and it's just like, I care about who this person is now, because she's introducing herself. She's talking more. It's more than just, here's my book. It's cool. You should check it out. We all got cool books. We all got cool images. We all got cool stories we want to tell. It's about how you're gonna get the audience to actually care about you as well too.
That is super important, and becoming a reoccurring theme on this show is that people need to understand that you got to get people to like who you are too, not just your book.
And I'm hugely thankful for the people that's working with me on this collapsed world. The amount of trust they have in me to work up with their babies in a pretty cool story. And since we got the shutdown period, I'll probably start dropping some of the art for that too. Just a little preview of some of the character designs I'm working on, just how they're going to look in the book. Just so people can see and share. That's what it's about. Being connected with others. You can't be successful without the help of others in the indie community.
Right.
It's too much. It's too much on your own, one person. You need people's support. You can have the best looking book. I've seen really good looking books on Kickstarter and just posted, and I've seen them not do as well as I would think they would do just based on how they look visually. Mm-hmm. And there is a reason behind it. If there's no game plan, there's no planning involved, how successful can you be? But if you're just doing art in a bubble and you just expect people to get it because it looks good, it doesn't work like that. I'll be honest. I remember my first big comic book convention.
I was like, I remember talking to you about that.
Yeah, I was like, well, my book looks good, so people are just going to want it. If I saw it, I would want to buy it because it looks good. But there's hundreds, thousands of books that look good when you go to a comic convention. And it takes more than just looking good to sell books. You have to talk to people, you have to engage in the audience. You have to draw them into you. You got to draw them into your world. You're competing. This is the bigger the convention, the more competition you have there. Um, I've
Absolutely.
I've been a part of multiple conventions. Some where it's slow, depressing. Like I literally have two different. I have I only have two emotions at a comic book convention. Like super ecstatic, super happy, and then super depressed. There's no in between. There's no like this is just okay for me. It's either I'm like just happy to be selling books and happy to be around and just even talking to people, or it's like if there's no audience, no crowd, it's like wow, what am I doing with my life? This is depressing. Um, I just have those two emotions when I do conventions. And I've been blessed. Most of the time, it's been the good thing, the good, the happiness. Um, I remember a convention in St. Louis. It was the craziest thing. It felt like um, people were just throwing money, and I'm just throwing books and prints. It was just craziness nonstop, like all day, and that's a really good feeling as a creator because you got besides the money, it's just people interested, talking to you. They want to know more about what you're doing. Um, and then you get the follow up emails, from people that don't know you, but they bought your work and they want to know when more is coming. So
Mhm.
that's huge.
Right, 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 right. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right, so we got characters. So even though these characters are inspired by your kids at their base and foundation, are there any other characters outside of the actual people that have inspired your writing or these characters?
You mean just my me liking comics? Any characters that are um,
Yeah, like Hot Shots inspired by Invincible, Spider Man, Wolverine, and Naruto.
got you. Um, I would have to say I I would say Static Shock would be one of the characters. Um, when that first came out with Milestone, I really enjoyed that. Um, but besides that, probably no, honestly. Um, a lot of my books is just like it's stuff that I really wanted to see, like stuff that I felt was missing.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't nitpick at movies or comics I read or anything like that. It's just if I'm watching a movie and the only reason if I'm disappointed in a movie is if I felt like the writer took the lazy way out. Um, like if you built all this suspense and if it's an action movie or whatnot, and the heroes are faced with these odds that look impossible to beat, and then the heroes magically get this piece of paper or something, and all of a sudden everything's win. I don't like the lazy writing where it saved by the pen.
Hmm.
I like things that make sense. I like things to. It doesn't have to be realistic, but it should make sense
Right.
where how problems are solved. Um, Pinkwing, Prime Controller, as far as characters inspired by, I mean, it's a little bit of Power Rangers in there, I guess. You got some Power Rangers where they uh, they some of the things they fight. Um, I was a big fan of X Men, but they're not really mutants, so it may be some mutant type characters later in the series, but X-Men, Superman. And there's no traditional like Superman type in my universe. No like superhero strength kind of thing
Okay.
like that.
All
Um,
right.
so my comic book kind of is like a sci-fi adventure story. So it's more science based, alien tech. I get science, sci-fi. So it's like alien technology based, and it may have mutations that cause powers, but it's not like a traditional. I was born from this with this ability. It's the universe itself is more like normal. Everything's normal until um, they're exposed to something.
Uh huh.
I guess like Spider-Man, like the bite, but it's not from this planet. They're because their abilities aren't from this planet. They get the abilities from alien artifacts that they're exposed to because of a threat to their planet.
Uh
That's
huh.
it. Yeah, the alien dinosaur grabs a lot of people's attention, Danny. I like to draw dinosaurs. I like to draw mutants. I like to draw um, monsters.
Yeah, that alien dinosaur was crazy. The way you designed it. What made you go with that design? Like, what was that process like? Thanks, Danny.
Um, it couldn't just be a regular dinosaur. It had to be something different. Since it's aliens and the evolutionary drone itself, what it does is it sucks up matter and spits that matter out, transforms it into all different types of weapons of mass destruction.
Hmm.
So we got the two-headed triceratops. We have the mix between the ape and the woolly mammoth. Then we got the four-legged, six-eyed T-Rex. Um, I like dinosaurs. What draws a lot of people to the books is they see that big dinosaur on there, and they stop and want to see what the book is about. And I've sold hundreds of books because they like that dinosaur.
Well, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Whatever gets them to come over there and get it. I'm good with that.
yeah. I mean, one thing I I am still to this day inspired by is Dragon Ball.
Hmm.
Not so much of the characters of hey, what's up, John? Not so much the characters of like what they can do, but really the relationships within each other. The relationships they have with each other, um, and how they evolve and get better, and how they change over time. So that's one thing I liked about Dragon Ball when I was a kid. It wasn't like um, Krillin stayed the same. He worked hard and got better. So imagine a Marvel universe where like Spider-Man actually could work out and train and get better and become, more than just what he is right now. Instead of a writer saying, "Well, he's stronger than Luke Cage," or Luke Cage is this, but people have the ability to get better.
That makes sense. Because I know a lot of characters are described in that way. I mean, it's the quickest resource that we have, to acknowledge what the character is or whatnot. All right. So your writing process, how does it work for you? You got to be in complete silence. You listen to the music. Do you map everything out like an investigator? Do you plot it and then just start drawing it and then do your writing?
I love music. I love soundtracks. I listen to a lot of soundtracks while I'm writing. Um, some parts of the story come from like moments, like you're inspired by music, it's like, oh, that'd be cool if this would happen. And then you kind of build the story around some of these moments, but overall you still have a start, a middle, and an end point you want to get to. You want that resolution. And the fun part of the comic is that journey and how they get there. So for me, me writing my own story with Picking Prime Controller, I have my moments that I want to hit, make sure I hit my high points in the story. I definitely want the end of the first 4 issues to tell a complete story. So let's just say you just read the first 4 issues, you have a complete story there. But of course, it's going to continue on into something else. But if you don't go past that, you'll at least be, you will be satisfied. You won't walk away disappointed. When I'm writing for other people, when I'm not doing the art, which is a fun thing to do as well too, I block things out. I do outlines. So I have whatever the page count is, I'm looking at breaking out what's going to happen on that page. It may be a paragraph, it may be a sentence, but these are the points that's going to happen. So first is the outline. It may not be broken up into 20 pages, but it has the outline for that issue. And if it's a multiple issue book, like I'm working on a book called right now Biggs and Tiny, I know for sure that I had 5 issues to work on this book. Mm-hmm. So there's an outline to say what tone I want each issue to have. Some issues are slower as far as more story than others. Some issues are just going to be straight action. Like it's just the pace of how I want the 5-issue arc to go. And right. When I get to that, the 5th issue, I got to make sure I hit all of the lead-ins before that I establish in issues 1 through 4. Mm-hmm. But I start heavy with the outlines, just want to make sure that it's almost like drawing a picture. Like that's how the best way I describe it. When I'm writing a script, it's like sketching, and then I go through and reread it to refine it, to make sure it makes sense. And I try to look at it, if I didn't write this, would it make sense to someone just picking it up for the first time? I think sometimes in indie comics, we have so much headcanon that it gets in the way of what our story is about. Mm-hmm. We know so much about these characters. We know so much about what this world is about, but we don't give the audience time to catch up. Sometimes it'll be, I'm reading a book and I don't know who these people are. And right. There's no establishment of why they are important. What am I looking for? Now the writer may have an idea 5 issues later about what they're going to be doing, but 5 issues is a long time in the world of indie comics. Right. You can't. What sense does it make to map out 15 issues of something if you haven't sold 10 issues yet? And once I got into comics, honestly, I'm fascinated by the business aspect of it. I'm so drawn into the making of comics and how to make sure, as a creator, I'm not losing on a comic. I'm not losing out on funds. I'm not losing out on money. I don't like to just blindly throw money into a project and not get a return on the investment, whether it be time, energy, effort, or whatever it is. So that's one thing I think creators definitely need to watch out for. That's how people get discouraged too. You spend all this money on comics, on making it. They're expensive. They're not cheap at all. The average comic you're holding in your hand that's indie, it can range between $1,500 to $3,000 for the average 22-page comic, just for
Right.
production, just for production. And then you're talking about getting it printed, shipping it to people. Um, the business of comics, if you don't look at it, if you don't manage it right, if you connect with the wrong kind of partners, it can definitely discourage people from continuing with their what their dreams are.
Yep. Yeah, it can. Okay, I think we need to put. I mean, you're dropping a lot of knowledge in here. I'm always curious about those type of things when I know I'm talking to somebody that's doing like a lot of the work themselves, especially like your writing process, because I would imagine your writing process would be different. I like how you gave us that separation of when you're writing for yourself and when you're writing for somebody else or whatnot.
Yeah, and then somebody asked me the other day, why don't I do all my art for certain things? All my art, like I have stories that I want to tell that my art is just not a good style for, and I'm realistic enough to understand that. Um, Now I can work hard and force myself to draw in this certain kind of style, but if it's not my style, why not just work with somebody that will naturally have the style I'm looking for?
Hmm. What's this big and tiny project you're working on? Danny says, "What's this big and tiny project you're working on?"
Biggs and Tiny is like a superhero version of Beverly Hill Cops. Um, I had a Kickstarter for it last year. Issue one is out right now. It's available for purchase. Um, it's going to be in stores actually. It's going to be across. It's distributed. It was distributed to Diamond. I don't know how it's going to be in stores now, but it is available across the country. It's through Black Box Comics. Um, they approached me to work on the script. Um, it's it's not all ages. It's a funny rated R comic about two guys in New York who are battling this underground syndicate who are doing experiments on people, and they are trying to develop bioweapons using the human genome. And Biggs and Tiny, they are two people that escaped the experiments, and there's this cat and mouse game with the police department who are. It's a three-way battle. You got the police department, you got this underground syndicate, and you got Biggs and Tiny in the mix. And um, they're trying to. Biggs and Tiny wants to shut everything down. I saw Daniel say that Biggs and Tiny should be available in June. So that there it is right there, the release of when it's going to be in stores. We had a Kickstarter for it last year. It was amazing, good support, good turnout, and it is issue one is done. Um, Let me see. Yeah, it's in the previous catalog right now. I'm looking. I just put it up on Facebook. Um, yeah, June will be the date.
That's what's up, man. How does that feel, man? I mean, I've seen your posts. I follow your posts. So I know your feelings on it, and good to see your moments when you're dropping announcements and stuff, and um, commenting on the people that you're working with, and the fact that you get these opportunities. But let everybody that's watching now know how that feels.
It's an honor. It's one thing for people to buy your book. That's huge. You got people that want to support you in what you're doing, but for people to want to pay you to write and do art for them on their projects is another thing as well too. Now, there's certain projects I can't do based on time. Um,
Hmm.
So I resort to I can write for you. I can't do the art, but I can write. I can write the script. And they'll take it. Some people, they want to work with you. So um, I do like it because it's not just me. It's not working with a team is fun.
Yeah.
Working with the team is a lot of fun. You get to learn, pick brains. You may not agree on certain things all the time, so you gotta hash it out. And it's I would recommend it if you can. If you can work with a team, definitely do it. I do like working on my own stuff too. But even with my source guide, I got a source guide that's going to be attached with this project I did with Pinkwing Prime Controller. It's going to have multiple stories in there, little mini, short stories with multiple artists, with me writing it. That's even fun for me,
Mm.
I got another project. I'm working with an artist. An artist actually. I'm gonna say this: keep your content going, keep your content strong, because you don't know who wants to work with you.
Hmm.
I had an artist reach out to me. He messaged me multiple times. When can we work on a project together? When can we work on a project together? I want to work on Pinkwing. And I said, well, I don't need you for Pinkwing, but I'm writing the script, and you'd be a good fit for this. And it's looking hot right now. It's looking really good. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Let me see.
Is it coming up for you?
It's coming up.
Oh, there it goes. And it looks like Haley Dennis, who's a really cool person. I met her out at a comic book convention. She's super fun and dope. She says, how do you and your teams collaborate, especially these days?
We are doing Messenger, emails, Messenger. No video calls at the moment right now, but it's my team actually internationally. So it's me in United States, somebody in Italy, and somebody in Brazil. So that those three different countries are working on one book together. So this is we make sure each other are okay health wise with this pandemic. But after checking in to make sure everybody's fine, it's just business as normal. So
All
yeah,
right, what are you
Jacoby.
showing us here? Wow.
So that's Jacoby Hall. This is a book that it's not like Pinkwing Prime Controller. It's a pretty different kind of story. And as a writer, you don't want to be bogged down into one type of story. Honestly, so it's refreshing actually to be able to bounce back and forth with different stories. And here's a double page spread from the book, Jacoby Hall.
Nice.
So it's slowly being worked on. What's going on, Sean? So yeah, I'm having fun. We got a good team. I'm in no rush for this book. I'm just gonna be slowly piecing it together when I can. I want to make sure that my campaign is taken care of with Pinkwing and the Prime Controller, and then I want to take care of my other obligations with some freelance work. I want to get Collapse World out there because, again, having other creators trust you with their character, it's huge. You don't want to let them down. Everybody's going to get something out of it. It's a book that's going to be, it's a graphic novel. It's a trade. It's over 100 pages of story with multiple characters from all over the indie world. So it's 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 like a dream project for me to work on, and I'm sure once it's done, it can lead to something else. Other people may want to jump on the next volume if we ever do something like that again. So it's sometimes working on books. It's not about just what you're working on right now. It's about who's going to read it and say, you know what, I want to work with this person. I want to do something with them as well too. I like what they're doing. He or she, it's just like a talented artist.
Mhm.
Writers who can write, writers who can, or even people that can actually just handle business. They're going to draw people to want to work with them.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. And I don't think a lot of people understand how well rounded you have to be in all aspects and everything that you do, as in like workable, like being able to work with people, being able to talk to people, being present, doing the artwork that you're doing for the team, promoting for that team, promoting for that book, pushing ideas, helping drive the narrative home of, let's get this book made. Like how vocal and how present are you on social media? How much of your social media is actually dedicated to you, like getting your comic book and you out there as a creative? Like there's all these different facets that make up the whole component of being creative, and I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, if you can just draw your book and not have to deal with promoting it and have it complete and move on to the next one, how successful can you be? Um,
Mhm.
who's going to care about it? Who's going to want to read it? Yeah, it's going to take more than other people promoting your book to make it successful. I'm going to be, my voice on my projects is going to be the most powerful one. Now, other people saying, so, it may spread out to others and they may check it out too. But if I don't say anything as the writer and creator of a series, um, it's the publisher. The publisher can't sell your book for you. They're
Mhm.
helping you get it out there. They're going to help you. Now, if you have a big publisher, that's different. Marvel is, Disney, whatever, DC, even Image. But if you are on your own, if you're just starting, um, you should have goals. You should definitely have goals. It can't just be, I just want to make comics just to make comics. I'm making comics to eventually transition into a secondary income. Honestly, I'm gonna be real with it. That's and I have made money. I have definitely made money off of making comics. Um, and there's certain goals in place where my number one goal was to have my comics take care of itself. Um,
Yeah.
so so if you don't have, it's not coming out of my own money. It's not coming out of
Right.
my day, Sean. It's not coming out of my regular paycheck. Um, so my creative world, it's its own business. So you manage that. You manage freelance. Um, you don't just blow that money on something else. If I get just since the pandemic started, um, I've had I've had several freelance jobs, and I've transferred that money into hiring artists to work on other projects. So it's almost like you're recycling money from your own business into other aspects of your business to eventually get more money for your business to put back into more content for your business. And what sometimes
Knowledge.
people what what
Knowledge.
what happens sometimes is we use that money on stuff that hits a dead end. And this is a hard year for a lot of people. This is gonna be a hard year for a lot of people because conventions and selling physical books is is how we make a lot of money. Um, being at shows, being present at large comic book shows draws in thousands and thousands of dollars for freelance artists. So we can't. This is going to be a year right now. We're going to take a hit. Everybody's taking a hit. But but
Haley's taking shots. Haley's she's really good with numbers. She handles money and financials and things like that for a living. And I was showing her some of my spreadsheets, and she's saying being well-rounded is important and can include things like budgeting and doing it on something better than Google spreadsheets. She's an Excel woman, so shots fired. Bum, 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 bum.
Excel is way better than Google spreadsheets. Excel, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. But so this is like, if the world's on pause, you don't have to be. So now is your time to stockpile and be ready. Now is your time to. We all wanted this pause to say, man, if I had some time, if I had, this is it's you have to handle yourself, your family, financial, we have bills, but if you have a plan right now, 2021 could be a killer year for you all. Because one thing about successful creators is they have more content for their fans. They have more something new to read. So once the conventions pop up again, it's going to take some time. We're not going to just walk into stuff being back to normal. Once the conventions open up, you're going to have people saying, no, I'm not going yet, because it could still be an issue, So, but once this time is done, and it's going to take some time, we don't want to look back and say, I wish I would have written more, reached out to this other creator, started this project when I had the chance. If you don't do it now, when are you going to? Sometimes you have to pull the plug and say, I can't sit around. That was me. I remember back in 2013, I was writing and journaling and writing all these stories. And then after a few years, I'm just like, I have to do something. If I don't start, it's never going to be perfect. I was waiting to be better. I was waiting to be better at drawing this or drawing that. And it was like, you know what? I got to just bite the bullet and just produce something. And making comics, you are putting yourself out there. You are definitely putting your style, your writing style. You're putting yourself out there for acceptance, rejection, and hopefully it's more acceptance than rejection. We're all going to have some rejection of, if you're at a convention, you're not going to sell 100% of your books. You're not going to be 10 for 10 or 100 for 100 on talking to people,
Excuse me.
So it's you got to be able to be rejected in comics.
All right. Well, I'm about to wrap you up there, buddy. I love everything you're saying, and I agree with dang near every single thing that you are saying. This is the 24th episode of Chat and Draw. It's been a heck of a journey, and it's not over by any means. But the season finale is this Saturday. I've teardropped some hints of what's going on in the episode that's closing us out. We are going to return back with the season 2. I've already got people signed up for it to start us off, but it is going to be launching through Patreon. It will still be available to be seen through Facebook and YouTube. That's still going. Patreon is going to offer new options and new rewards that you can get on the show. One of them being coloring. Coloring will be added as a Patreon reward, and some other extras that we're going to add on there and announce on the season premiere of season 2. I've also decided that we're going to bring back a bunch of the guests that have been on here throughout the season for our Saturday show. So our show is going to be a longer show. Dang it. Y'all weren't supposed to see that yet. I was trying to keep my finger on it. And the last reveal that I want to give you guys before going to the show is there's a little something I'm working on for that show since we got so many people. Why don't you this is going to take a second. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you at?
I'm easily found on Facebook. That is my main platform. Just type in Ramel Hill. Everything I'm working on, you'll see there. I'm simple. I keep it super simple. Just Facebook under Ramel Hill. You'll see what I'm working on, who I'm working with, what projects are in the loop, um, what's on my mind, what discussions we want to have around comics. Right there on Facebook, just Ramel Hill. That's a lot of indie creators right there, man. That's a lot of. That's a lot of.
It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of some stuff. So this will be worked on throughout the day tomorrow and for the show on Saturday. So uh, this is pretty. This is every single character that has been drawn this season, and I've got Pink Wig right there as I drew her today, and I'm glad that's taken care of because I made sure to do a pose that she fit into this piece.
It looks good.
So yeah, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for their support. I want to thank everybody for the future support as this show moves forward and the things that we do or whatnot. If you're watching this off the YouTube page, please give us a share, give us a follow, let other people know about it. If you are looking to sign up for the show, please sign up for the show. Get on here, talk about your character. And I'm feeling Frisky. Another option that we're going to be offering on the Patreon exclusive portion of the site is that I'm going to do fan drawing. So if you're wanting to get a fan drawing of whatever character you want, whether that be a mainstream or indie character, you can get it through Patreon rewards or whatnot. So we're doing. I'm stepping the game up, stepping it up, and very excited about it. Can't wait to get to you guys. Danny J. Quick response. I knew he was gonna like it. I knew he was gonna like it. Oh, Ramel, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed yourself today. I hope you enjoy your illustration that we did. Let's actually. Where is she? Get that final look at her. Swing. Well, I have her swinging her bow staff around or whatnot. She was super fun to draw. I wanted to give her a super smirky attitude face with all that girl power that she's rocking.
Appreciate it, man.
No problem. Thank you again for joining us, everybody. The show returns on Saturday for the season finale of the first season ever of Chat and Draw. Thank you. Have a good night. Enjoy yourselves. I've got a crap ton of drawing to do, as you can see.